Simcha, celebration, Simcha, Simcha, celebration of life.
Hello and welcome to Simcha, a celebration of life, with me, your host, Aaron Halevi. In today's show, Rabbi Daniel Kohn adds to the transformative experience of one's prayer. We visit the Italian Jewish Synagogue in Jerusalem, and we conclude our Shema series with Rabbi Trugman. Jewish prayer is as ancient as the Hebrew Bible, for the Torah records that the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, prayed to God in times of distress and to give thanks. Rabbi Daniel Kohn's teachings on prayer are grounded and practical, full of the most fascinating content, bringing an expansive and uplifting consciousness to his students. His unique mingling of playfulness and depth create a truly transformative experience of prayer.
Visualization, which is a very important practice of prayer, which is perhaps less practiced these days, but visualization is actually related, interestingly, to shir, to song. The word shir, in addition to meaning, bringing presence, sharui, and shriya, and inspiration, the word shir also has to do with visualizing. In the Torah, for instance, there's a verse which is said by Bil'am in the book of Numbers in Bamidbar, Ashurenu velo mikaro. Ashurenu, which has the shir in it, means I have seen him and not from close. In other words, Ashurenu means to see something from a distance, in a distance. It's part of imagining and visualizing. So song can actually arouse visualization. Now, visualization itself is a very important element, and we could go back to the story of Adam. In the story of Adam, we have an interesting phenomenon, and that is that Adam is taken out of the earth. Adam min ha'adama is taken out of the earth. It's a dry, parched land. Nothing's growing. And somehow he knows to pray for rain. That's kind of strange. I mean, how did he know to pray for rain? So Rashi's there, the great commentator from 900 years ago on the Torah, says, well, actually, he was able to identify and recognize the good and the whole that creation was waiting to express. He calls that lahakir b'tovatam shel geshamim. He recognized them. And then from that, he saw that the earth was missing the rains, and then he began to pray. Now this is very fascinating. He recognized their goodness. So that means he was imagining something. He was imagining a world where there was rain. And then he opened his heart to the trials of a dry world, and then he began to pray. So one of the beautiful things about that teaching, that Adam didn't know that the world needed rain from experience. It hadn't yet rained. But what he did know was himself. And coming from the earth, he knew what the earth needs. So there are different ways that a person discovers what he wants, right? If, for instance, someone's not well in the house. Now, my experience of life is that health is the higher functioning human being, higher functioning than a sick human being. And we have this extraordinary drive that things should be whole, things should be well, that things should be as full as they can be. And people are driven to that naturally. What an incredible power that's built into us, not just as human beings. In every growing creation is like that. So it's that drive towards a greater fullness and wholeness, which is actually the drive that stands behind prayer. So now, to go back to the example. So someone's sick in the house. I know that I want that person well. I know that health is a higher functioning expression of life than is sickness. I'm here for life. I'm here for the sake of life. I'm here for the fulfillment and the evolution of life into its greatest completion and fullness. So there's a very natural place that we have inside which pushes us into prayer, which drives us towards that. So that's a simple example, right? Because it's very clear, you know, on the backdrop of health, sickness is not good, right? A person who's desiring to be married and doesn't have a partner, looking for love and has not found it. A person who's seeking truth and understanding and is wanting it. A nation that experiences itself as oppressed and seeks liberation. A world in which there's a crying need for humanity to unite and to be joined together. All of these things, which I'm now listing for you, some of the things that practicing Jews pray for every day, are natural expressions for everyone. Like these, yeah, right. Just talk to people about that a little bit, and you'll get them excited about it. Yeah, right. That hits the right chord, and that's just because we're made that way. Now, in the case of Adam, I think what the rabbis are describing to us is actually a paradigm, because there was, in a sense, no way for Adam, to discover that the world needs rain, except in some way looking inside himself as part of that world. And that's a deeper level, but it's the introspection that will make the big difference in prayer.
Welcome back. The original synagogue of Conegliano Veneto was located in a village between Padua and Venice in Italy. When the Jewish community learned of the local authorities' intent to destroy the synagogue, the inner walls were brought to Israel from Italy in 1952. Drenched in the rich history of the Italian Jewish community, the synagogue's interior was reconstructed and opened its doors to serve the Italian community in Jerusalem.
This synagogue was created in 1701 in Conegliano, Veneto. Conegliano is a small city, 40 kilometers from Venice, but this is a typical Venetian synagogue. What I mean with saying a typical Venetian synagogue, the synagogues in Venice have 2 points of interest inside the synagogue. One is the Heichal, or the Holy Ark, and the other is the pulpit, or the Teiva. Normally, not like here, the Teiva was in the rear of the synagogue, inserted in the western wall, and the Holy Ark in the eastern wall. So we have 2 points of interest. This is the reason that people sitting along the axis that connect the bima with the heichal, the pulpit with the Holy Ark. Looking to the center. We are not sitting as is usual in a prayer hall or in a church, looking only the Holy Ark, looking only towards Jerusalem. We are looking towards Zion, but we are also looking towards the speech of the rabbi, of the cantor that are on the bima. So we have 2 interest points. And this is very special for the Italian synagogue. Here we couldn't do it because we took this synagogue from Conegliano. The city decided to knock down the building where the synagogue was and to create popular apartments. So we have to save, not me, someone in Venice have to save this synagogue, and they decided to send it in pieces to Jerusalem. The city said that there is no artistic interest in this synagogue, so they can send it. And they sent it, and it arrived here as old furniture. And the Ministry of Religious Affairs received it and gave it to our community. And it was intended to be like that, but this was the procedure. And this was a school before being the building of the Italian community. It was a school where I learned in. So this synagogue was inserted inside the chapel of the monastery that was here before. And this was a place where every morning I was praying in the school of Aryeh in Jerusalem. It was a wonderful school, and it was a wonderful place for the synagogue. So the Italian community in Jerusalem decided to adapt it, to take it for herself, and we arrived every Shabbos to this place to pray here, according to the Italian Jewish rite. And this was a specific thing because there was no other Italian Jewish rite in Israel. So this is the only one Italian Jewish rite synagogue in Israel. The only part that is not coming from Venice is those benches on the rear, because they come from another ancient synagogue in Italy. But we enlarged very much the community. In Conegliano Veneto, there were altogether no more than 70 prayers. Here we have, and the women were not going to the synagogue. I mean, they have this woman section on the top, but they didn't need more. And here we created again the same kind of women's section, but the difference is that we have less half a meter from the ceiling. This is lower than the original, and we gave to the women the same height inside like for the men, 2.20 meters, because the women in the Conegliano were very short probably, and they are only 1.70 meters. And so we lose another half a meter. So we have underneath the women's section, we have 1 entire meter less than in Conegliano. So that's the reason that the bima couldn't be underneath the women's section as it was in Conegliano. So we moved it a little bit to the center, looking like a normal Ashkenazi synagogue. And I can tell you that in Conegliano, it was an Ashkenazi congregation, because Italy was a place that people arrived from all over the world. So the north was a place, many Ashkenazi communities escaping from the pogroms and so on arrived to Italy. So we have Ashkenazi synagogues in Venice. We have also Levantine synagogue in Venice, coming from Turkey. My family, the Casutos, came from Turkey, and they arrived to Florence in 1587. And from there on, we were in Florence, but we are Levantine Jews. So we have in Venice a Levantine synagogue, another French Ashkenazi synagogue, the Canton synagogue. And we have this Italian synagogue, people coming from Rome or from a Sicilian synagogue. So from all the direction arrived Jews to Italy, and from all the proveniences. So we have a lot of rights inside the community of Venice, and this is an Ashkenazi synagogue. Another point that I have to accentuate, the Holy Ark is a very typical Baroque Holy Ark. And all the ornaments are very Baroque. So it looks like a beautiful Baroque arrangement, a beautiful Baroque piece of art. And the only thing, as I told you before, is the dimensions. The dimension was not Baroque that is imposing on you. It's not imposing. It's my Holy Ark, my human Holy Ark. And this is the point. And you see, on the top of the Holy Ark, we have the Ten Commandments, and we have also a flower. You see a sunflower. Under the tablets, you have a sunflower. The sunflower is the Pope symbol. And they gave the Pope his place inside the synagogue. They have to give him because he was the patron of the city, so we have to do it, to give him the respect he needs. In the churches at that time, on the walls, there was paintings, wonderful histories of what happened to Christianity during the history. In synagogues, they couldn't have been. So they put inscriptions that came to tell the story of the synagogue, to tell the grandeur of God and so on. And it's not with pictures, but with inscriptions. And this is the translation of the space, the holy space in synagogues, like that. And but this was part of the ornaments of the synagogues all over the world. The inscriptions came instead of the pictures, and this is a good reason to do it, because you have to attract the attention of the people sitting inside. If there were pictures, you can tell about the picture, about the icon and so on. If there were inscription, you are telling what is written there. And they are very, very Jewish, fine way of expression. It's a still function. That's very interesting because the people are coming here, I say 250 something every Shabbos, all over the city. They are not driving a car to the synagogue. Later on, they are going to the sea, but to the synagogues they come by foot, and they are part of the congregation. You know, we have here, the congregation is very special. We have a lot of professors, of academic experts. This is the Italian society in Israel today.
Rabbi Trugman's book, Shema Yisrael, presents an impressive guide to the Shema, a prayer that is used both in the morning and evening prayer services. The book contains commentary and insights that serve as tools to be used when reciting the Shema with understanding, intention, and emotional inspiration. Today, Rabbi Trugman concludes his series on the Shema.
When analyzing the word echad one, there are many beautiful teachings that jump out at us. So let's look at just two ideas, but both entail looking at the individual letters of the word echad. The word echad is made up of 3 letters, an aleph, which equals 1 numerically, a chet, which equals 8, and a daled, which equals 4. So one of the basic intentions of saying the Shema is to visualize, to imagine that God who is one, the aleph, we need to draw down that oneness through the 7 heavens to the earth. 7 and 1 equals 8, the second letter of the word echad. And then to spread it to the 4 directions. So this is a very potent visualization of just going through the 3 letters of echad. God who is one, but we don't want God's oneness just way up there in heaven someplace. We need to draw it down through what are called the 7 heavens, 7 spiritual levels, until it gets to the earth. We want to manifest that oneness. Again, that is the mission of the Jewish people. And once it gets to the earth, it needs to spread to the 4 directions of the world until the whole world is one. That is one idea. A second idea follows the same structure, taking the 3 letters of echad, but we'll do it in a different way. Everyone knows the phrase that the land of Israel is called a land flowing with milk and honey. So if you take that phrase in Hebrew and you take out the word flowing, in other words, a land that has milk and honey, so it's Eretz, Chalav, Devash, which are the first letters of the 3 letters of the word echad. That echad is centrally focused in the land of Israel. It will be from the land of Israel that this sweetness will be spread to the 4 corners of the earth, because when we say Shema, we're taught that when we say the Lord our God, one of the things to think about is right now, God is our God. But in the future, God will be one. All of the prophets taught that a time will come that all humanity will come together in peace and in harmony and will all be one. Sometimes we call it the global village, but here it's not only the physical global village, but a spiritual global village. According to our tradition, that will emanate from the Holy Land, a land flowing in milk and honey, and that oneness, Eretz Chalav Devash, a land of milk and honey, will flow to the whole world, and everyone will recognize and appreciate and praise the one God.
Well, that's all we have for this week's episode of Simcha, a celebration of life. As always, we'd love to hear from you, so please send us a message on Facebook at Spirit Sister Productions. Simcha will be taking a break for a while, but SABC2 will have a fresh, new and exciting series in the coming months. From me, Aaron Halevi, and the Simcha team, take care and have a wonderful week ahead.